This is Josh with 9 Hole Reviews, and today on Midway USA, we're going to talk about how to shoot off of difficult and compromised barricades and positions using a reverse C-clamp grip. Let's get into it. Shooting from difficult and compromised positions off of awkward and weird objects. It's something you see all the time in competition, but this is also something that happens in the field fairly frequently. Think about having to shoot off of a fence post, or maybe having to pin your rifle against a tree, maybe even shooting off of a portion of a vehicle. All of these things require some specific adjustments to technique to be really effective. Today we're specifically going to talk about how the support hand works and manages the rifle on that obstacle or object in order to improve both your recoil control and your stability while you're on target. In order to do this, there's a very specific technique that you do with your supporting hand. And instead of holding it standard on the handguard of the rifle, what I'm actually going to do is rotate it around so that my support hand thumb is actually orientated back towards me as the shooter. In doing this, what it's going to allow me to do is access a huge portion of my palm and of my fingers to help fill in the gaps on these awkward positions, maximizing stability and improving my ability to control recoil. So the shape of the actual object I'm shooting off of is going to dictate what I have to do specifically with my fingers and with my palm. But the basics is that I'm going to be gripping with what they call an inverted C-clamp around the rail. Now in this particular instance, I have the slate stop from Slate Black Industry with this recessed portion in the rear, and that makes it exceptionally easy to hook my thumb around it to then be able to place it on a awkward barricade or object to shoot from. Now, as I mentioned, depending upon what the object looks like, I might have to adjust where my other fingers go. If I'm shooting off of a flat barricade, for example, I might wrap my thumb and my index finger, and then the rest of my palm might be open as I press into the barricade. If I'm shooting off of a completely flat surface, I might be doing something very similar with maybe more fingers wrapped over the top on the rail on that particular object. If I have a vertical post with no bottom shelf to rest the rifle on, I might be adjusting how much pressure I'm applying horizontally then, or pulling horizontally into that vertical post. But all of it starts with this position. So in this particular case, I've got this awkward sloping away shelf. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap around, and I'm actually going to roll my hand a bit lower because I have to fill in the gap at the lower portion of this particular barricade. I'm still wrapping my thumb around the lower portion of the slate stop. My index finger is going over the top of the rail, and I can probably choose at this point to place my middle finger either over the top or underneath. And I'm basically just sort of trying to find the most comfortable place to hold the handguard in the rifle. And in this instance, I've got my index finger pulling down and sort of pulling the handguard into my webbing of my hand. And I'm using my palm and my other fingers to brace the handguard of the rifle into the object. And this allows me to have a very stable shooting platform, looking out to 200, 300, even 400 yards. I'm able to be very steady using this technique. Now, let's talk about if you don't have a modern handguard, or if you don't have a device like the Slate Stop that assists you in doing this. So here I've got a Mark 12. This one is currently equipped with a bipod, but let's pull that off. So as you can see, totally slick bottom on this, right? Nothing to grab onto, that's still okay. I'm gonna use the exact same technique. I'm gonna sit the handguard into the webbing of my hand, find that sweet spot about right there. Again, I'm pulling down with the index finger and middle finger in this case, just based on how this particular rail is working on this specific cover. But again, the key here is that instead of my thumb being over the top or on the left side of the gun, it's actually around the bottom, and that's the key of this technique. So here is a more traditional system. This is a Remington 700. And here, as you can see, there's no front handguard. And I don't want to be grabbing onto a hot barrel. So instead, in this particular instance, one thing that you can do is run the exact same adjustment, and instead of wrapping your thumb underneath the stock, you can simply keep it on the side of the rifle and wrap gently over the top of the optic. So in this case, I'm still supporting the side of the gun and sort of cupping over the top of the optic in order to keep things in line and as stable as I can shooting from an awkward position. So remember, take your hand, rotate it back, and then work from this position as a starting point. You're going to get much more stability shooting off of difficult objects. This is Josh with 9-Hole Reviews, and you're watching Midway USA.